especially in areas where you as a designer or developer have the control to make things look better. So we're going to start with white space, like I said, and what proper alignment and all of these things means. So first, the definition of white space is just an empty area between the UI elements that improves readability and design clarity. Just with what we're seeing on our screen, if I could easily and quickly just tell you what a white space is, I would indicate it as this. This is a white space. This is a white space. This is a white space. And this is a white space. So in as much as you have this, it's clear and easy for you to read and understand this because we have some breaks in when your eye reads, like reads the information on the screen. Now, if you're building an app and you want to put this information and you decide to put this section and the second one together, and of course you're putting like the definition as well on top of it, it will not give that ease to the eyes when looking at your solution. Then also the benefit of white space, it makes your app looks professional, and on plus that, it improves readability and focus on important content, right? It enhances user experience by avoiding overwhelming layouts. That's the benefit. The next thing we're going to look at is what to keep an eye on in white space. It's the empty area between UI elements that improve readability and design clarity. So proper alignment ensures all elements follows a structured grid based layout. So in as much as you're trying to put like to implement white space, you should try to imagine your presentation in a grid based layout, right? So what grid based layout would definitely mean would be something like this. Now, I could say this particular design on my screen is a grid. I could say it's a grid, and the grid looks like two row and three column kind of grid. One, two, three, four, five, and six. And when it's time for me to use like to put the topic, what's to keep an eye on, I've decided to use grid one, the box one, and box four, which means topic occupies here. White space, the first definition, occupies the second and third box, and the last topic occupies five and six. So that's just what grid layer means. When you're building, you just try to break the component of your screen into grid layers. Then we steps to follow for inserting, because we would be briefly working on a quick project just to demonstrate this aspect, and we'll definitely use containers to insert. We're going to insert a vertical container from the insert menu. We're going to place elements inside to automatically space them evenly. We're going to set padding and margin, and we're going to click on a label or button in properties, and then we can set the padding. So we'll definitely add a label or maybe a button, and then just do some padding. It's very important, and we're going to enable auto layer. Now, even if you're designing, you don't go into auto layer, but if you understand how to use container to make your app looks better, that would be nice. So that's what we'll be diving on immediately in our demonstration. So yes, now let's in our before I go into that, I'll just share my white space screen. So this is an example of me trying to observe white space in application. So in as much as I can put this information, I can put even the safe start above, but I've decided to put it here, making my white space to be above here and here. And if you look at the edges, there's this part you're seeing here, it's more like me observing padding. So if I put a container and I say on no account do any form of element come in between, like just come towards the edges here, then I need to indicate it. Same goes to this one. You can see that all of these spaces that you see are actually the white space. So when you put white space like that, it makes your app more user friendly, to be honest. So now we want to have our mini project. If you look at the mini project we're going to be working on, it says like we should just try to design, manufacture, or building site management app login screen with good space and alignment, ensuring field workers, managers can easily access safety reports and equipment tracking and tax assignment and all of those things. So yeah, for this as the landing, we're assuming that this is our landing page. Now, if you look at the title of the app, if I bring this to the front, you can see that it's starting, the name is starting from the edge, and it doesn't even look presentable at all. Because yes, you might say it's okay, but it doesn't look presentable. If you start building, there are a lot of, especially a lot of Canvas app out there where you start your form just because you're asked to put in a form. You start by inserting a form, insert one, and you don't even care about the space. You just feel like, okay, inserting the form is all you need. Um, can I get, let me see if I can get the demo. All right, it will be just too much. But just because you're asked to insert the form and you just insert the form and you don't recognize space, it will make your work look so dirty. So what we will do now is to implement, and this is the title of the app. It's called the like site management app, for example. And if I want to make this look a bit presentable, first I need to understand and see how I can make my content to be within the clear space and avoid making my whatever I'm writing to go above. Now, when your app is like this, it will look more presentable. If I decide to hide all of this, which is like my match my line just to help me know what I'm doing. If I say I want to hide those lines, you can see that the app makes more sense because it's not like to the edge. Unlike when we add it, we had this the app this way, it doesn't make sense. So whatever you're doing, this has nothing to do with experience or not. As long as you've decided to start building solutions, you need to try to make sure there is an imaginary space in between anything you're doing. Now, that's a manual way of doing it. A good option of doing it, or easier option of doing it, is for you to insert what is called container. Container is, yeah. So I'll paste this directly on the screen, demo screen. Now, if I put this container and I specify my padding to be 30, 30, top 30, and top 30. Now, if I insert anything, let me say a button, you see that the button automatically would be aligned based on the padding. So I can't move it. I can't move it. If I say, okay, the left should be, let me say 100. No, 1000 is too much. You can see that it's automatically programmed that the padding will be 100, and there is nothing you put inside here that will get to the edge. So let me just say I want to put a label. Yeah, this is a classic label anyway. You see that my label is automatically by 100 px away. Now, if I want to make this 30 to make more sense, you can see that it's at the edge. I'm also going to make the background of my text to have some color just so we know the difference. Good. So if you look, we now have the edge to be like 30 all round. Now for the vertical, we can make everything to align at the middle, which is to justify vertically at the middle, to bring things towards the end, to make things separate apart, to make things at the middle, to make this towards the right, to make this to be even above all of it, above like the x-axis, like the to make any component we put to just go across the entire surface. We can also make it stuff. We can add. Now, this justify alignment is the most important thing you need to understand when putting up your input in your container. So what I've done so far is to add a container. If you're not satisfied with defining your padding and your margin in your container, you can still use a normal container without flexibility, and then you can determine how you want it to be. So in the continuation video, we're going to insert our con- buttons. We're going to see how we can actually make a proper landing using buttons, and then we get to see a full experience on how to work with the vertical container properly. All right, so in the next 15 minutes or less, we'll try to build the landing of this project we're working on as the mini project when it comes to implementing white space and good structuring. So let's start with first of all, understanding what containers and how containers can help us, because I'd always say container is an easy way to actually group different content components of your app. Now, what I'll do first is this is my plain page. There's nothing in it apart from where we had the demonstration of the um, imaginary line, and I'll be removing all of that. Now, this is my screen. The first thing I want to consider is just to put a clear container. Now, this container for me, I'll give all of this some color so we can be able to tell the difference between the container and the app itself. So it has like a brighter shade, right? So now what I'll be doing in this is I'm going to act like this would be my base container and every other thing would be in it. Now, if you watch closely, I've used a normal container without using a vertical or horizontal kind of container. The reason is I just want to make a clear container, and the reason I added this container is just to help me observe this imaginary space, right? When I play my app, I want to have the space. The color inside here might not be the same, but I know that no matter what you do, if I come here and I decide to insert like the title of my app here, because it is outside of the container, you can see that, let me say, um I put yeah, just site management application. Now if I make the let me say 50, and hopefully it's big enough, and make it bold. That's actually too big. I'll make it 40 instead. Okay, good. Now 14 makes too small. All right. So now if you look at my app, in as much as I've played this way, you see it doesn't make sense because it's left the container itself that is supposed to be my guide, and it's up there outside of the container. Even if I try to maybe make the text to be at the middle and align it to be in the center, it still doesn't make any sense to me because it's overlapping with the space. So what I'll do is I'll remove that, and whatever I want to place, I'm going to place it in my container. Now, when you start building professionally, you can decide to name your container if you want, and you can say home landing container. I can decide to name it there just for reference. And anything I want to put should be in my container. This time around, if I put the title of the app inside of the container, you can see that no matter how much I want to move it, I won't go beyond the imaginary line. So even if I make this color to go back to the white, automatically I have a guide. I can't go away from this position. I'm trying to even push it this way. It's not even going. But I'm going to leave my colors just so it can continue guiding us in terms of um, the colors. Let me just put the color. I just still want us to maintain. Okay, can make it. Yeah, good. just so we until we're done with the app, I won't be removing it. So now that I have a container here that is helping me to specify margin, like not to go exceed beyond. Now inside of this label, you can see that the if I make it in as much as, okay, let me say application for supervisors, for example. If you look at the what I've written now, it's no longer presentable because towards the edge of my site, you can see that the S is starting almost immediately, and that's not what I want. So for me to understand and to use, just to explain the beauty of having padding, it's that I want, no matter my component, I do not want the starting of the text to collide with the x-axis of the component itself, so I can specify space. Now the difference between the position is always different from the padding, the space. If I set the position to be like 4, it will move the entire stuff by 4. If I say 100, it moves the entire component by 100. It still doesn't make much sense. But if I put it here, put it back, make the S as a 0, but I want the inside of the app to start after 10 px, you see that it's going to create a space. And if I want the right to also be 10 px, so this is now padding. This is me experiencing padding. So all I want is, in as much as I'm writing the title of the app, I do not want it to fall within the edge. The same thing with the top and then the button. So these are actually what we call padding. 10 seems to be too much for me, and I'll reduce it. And I can also reduce the font text. Anyway, so this is just how we can use padding and also use container. Now, the second part, the beauty of using containers that are actually going to help us align things properly, is if we start using things like, let me say, vertical container. So I'm going to put a vertical container inside of the main container. And the reason I'm doing this is that I want to put some nice button, and this button will help me do the navigation. So I'm going to put like button. I'll make one of the button to be the length of the button, because I'm putting, this is a vertical container. You actually need to specify the controls within the container. I'm going to make my button big, so when I start moving things around, you will understand. I want to make my button like 52, and in terms of the width, 52 is even too small. I want to make it 100, and the width will be like 200. 200, let me see what 200 looks like. Okay, not bad. All right, I'll also, in my button for the button actually is a part of the modern control, that's why it's looking beautiful. So in this modern button, you can actually add icons, and you can also specify how you want the icon to be, either before or after, right? And you can also um see, like, set some other properties for the button, put your padding, make your text either in the middle, your button to align in the middle, or just across, but I'll keep it this way for now. Now, the next thing, important thing about my padding, my container, is because it's a vertical container. If you look at my presentation, I do not like the fact that it's at the side. I still want to observe padding, and I also do not want this effect, because I don't want anyone to observe that I actually put in a container inside a container. It doesn't make much sense to me. All right, so now I'm going to specify on how I want the container to look like or to act. I want to actually put about 6 buttons, 6 big buttons. This doesn't even look big enough, so I'll make it the height to be, I can always increase it anyway. I'll make the height to be 150. Yep. And I'll make the width maybe 250. So I'll be putting like 3 buttons. No, I think it's too much. Width at 200 is fine. So I'm just going to give an example of what I want to put 6 buttons, and I'll change the effect of the buttons later anyway. And I'm going to copy, and I'll paste it. And I'll paste it, and I'll paste it because I want six. Now, what I want in this button is I want them to have a space. I'll make it horizontal because I wanted this way anyway. And now I want the button to have a space of let me say 20. So what happens is that I now have my buttons to be equally even. I can decide if it should start by the left, if it should start in the middle, if it should start towards the right, if it should go across the space provided there, right? Or if it should go towards up and down. So all of these are things that we can specify in our app and then make it good. We can also, you can play around the alignment either vertical or horizontal. My gap 20, I feel it's good. Or I put it on the middle and then because I need six button, I can paste more and paste more. Now I have my buttons all even, and that's because of my app. Now, if my app is meant to be at the side, I still need to specify my padding. So if I say on 10 at the edge, you can see it's trying to observe 10 at the edge. If I say 20, it's observing 20 and 20 at the side, 20 at the left. But if you don't want to bother about deciding the left and right, you can just make this to just sit at the middle of your application and everything will be even. Then you can specify the name of your button. I'm just going to quickly maybe I'll make it 8 buttons. I'll just write this as the first button and I can make it more beautiful of which I intend to do after this. Not to take out, I would pause the video and I would put in some time to make all the buttons look the way I want and add some image and that will be app. However, what we've had is because I have my button down, I can decide to bring my the title of the app, and I can also decide to add some more things which we'll see at the end. But this way, we now have our app more presentable. This is better, far better than having everything starting from the end, the starting to the ending. Yes, so what we've been able to do is implement the landing page, the login, and it brings people or users to the page. And we've been able to implement both in terms of the project scope, we've been able to implement a container and place some buttons and some text labels in the container and everything is being arranged for us evenly, especially the buttons as you can see. We've just added, even if you look at the pop-up, you see that we've tried to implement white space. We always should have white space in between. In everything we do, there has to be white space. So when you implement white space, it makes your work look very perfect. Just to jump down to a quick demonstration of what we've done, you can see that in this particular presentation, we have the white space to be all of the side. So outside this being the big white space, we also have corners like this as white space, all of this place as white space. So the reason for white space is just the gap, right? And we have also some down here because of the layouts, the ruler I've inserted just to give us an idea of what the padding and the white space are. That's why we have that place have more informations there. However, we have the white space, we have the padding. If you look, just like I explained in the earlier part of the video, where we have the padding by the side and by the button. If you look at the gap we've placed in between the buttons. So this is a vertical container. You can see that by the right hand side, we have the kind of direction in terms of the container. The direction is what defines what kind of container you're using. And I've changed it to horizontal because I wanted my button to be up to 6. and we have the horizontal. You can see that the justification, we've made it to be in the middle and in the center. We have the gap 20. It means the gap between each button is about 20 px, and every other information is just by default. If you look at the padding also, in terms of the container, I've been able to use padding for 20 left and 20 right. 20 left, 20 right simply means this space here, the space between this side and the side is 20 px, and this side as well is 20 px. Also note that this container, it's just a flexible container where I place the space by default without any need to define the padding. So hopefully you understand and get all as I'm trying to convey to you. And the next topic would be another very exciting topic that will help us build. So go on to build something, start something from afresh. Even if you've built a solution before, just start afresh again and try to observe this white space, and you'll see the difference between what you have before and what you'll be having now. Thank you.